All right, I want to go straight to a couple. We talk about some of the dysfunction and stuff. Legislation is important, and sometimes it can really change people's lives, especially that need some help. And I know, Shelley, you're working on some bills right now in the Assembly specifically to do that. I want to talk about one in particular, which is to do with the special acts and more than 850 schools here. And we're talking about kids really on the margins that need some help, right?
Right. These are kids that attend these schools. There's categories of special schools in New York for kids who really are unable to attend public schools. Either they have generally a emotional, social disability such that they really cannot go through the public schools, or they have either a physical coupled with another disability. And these schools, which have really struggled in the last few years, as have regular public schools, they are funded by the public. And as we started to put money back in the public schools, they've been left behind, way behind. So this year, I'm chair of a subcommittee on a committee that looks at students with special needs. And we really had to fight to get these schools extra money and to be sort of on par with the regular public schools. And not only do they need it because of their fixed costs, but they have to plan a year ahead for, they don't know how many kids are going to move in the district, just like a regular school, or whether a child is going to all of a sudden need a reference. I've visited a lot of these schools. I have several in my district. They are difficult places to go, and they perform something that we should be proud of in New York, which is a quality education for very disabled kids. And so we fought really hard in the legislature. We couldn't get it in the budget. Then I organized my colleagues from around the state, Democrats and Republicans in the Assembly, and they did it in the Senate. And we worked with the governor. We leaned on them to impress upon them how important it was. And we were able to get 3.8% across the board increase for them for the first time in many years. And it was a lifesaver.
That's fantastic.
Really a lifesaver. And people are cynical, and I understand cynicism. Yeah. But when you achieve something like this and you go to the schools and you see, you see kids, and more important, the faculty who aren't in it for themselves. This is not a job that you want to do.
They're some of the heroes of public education. People
they
don't
really
see them,
are,
right?
and we are doing better than other states. We always are. Here we are doing the right thing, but we need to pay for it. It costs money, and that's the right thing.
And these kids, they don't really have the loudest vocal supporters in the constituency. It's one of those that are easy to put to the side, and we all know families that whose kids fall into this, and to go through some of the red tape to even find a way to get a seat sometimes it's hard, and then when they do, so that's fantastic. And I want to talk about something that we all know. In New York, it's happening in every state house in this country. I saw this a little bit in Trenton. We're actually better off than a lot of states, but there was a recent study that came out by Pew about how the state house coverage of newspapers, and really reporting and broadcast too, has dwindled. And the consequence, imagine, we talk about Bridgegate, that was broken by our friends over at Bergen Record. Imagine if you don't have a watchdog there. And I mean, these are some of the numbers. You've covered it, you've seen, remember, up in Albany, that room they have where it used to be a fight to try and get that chair? You know what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. You're lucky, like the bigger paper chains, Gannett, they'll have one guy that'll cover all for 3 or 4 papers. There's a consequence. I know the public doesn't think so, but in smaller states, you've seen this, you've been out in Montana, the governor's office will send out a press release and you'll put it in the paper because you got nowhere to cover it. I mean, if you don't have any eyes on it, then, who do you think takes over? The lobbyists, et cetera.
If you think, no offense, Assemblywoman, if you think corruption is bad in Albany now, let the number of journalists continue to dwindle and see what's going to happen. It will become 5 times worse. You need a constant spotlight on state houses across the country from the media doing investigative reporting.
Easy to blame the media for this. I blame you at home because people don't care about politics, especially on the state level, especially on the local level, to justify the expense for the media organizations. The media, like the newspapers, have done a terrible job with their finances, and they're culpable in this too. But a lot of it's because people don't care. If you can feed them the news, you can produce that news. It doesn't mean people are going to consume it. It doesn't mean people are going to buy newspapers because of it.
I don't agree at all. I think that if you provide quality coverage, the fact is the states are where things are happening. As much as we all blame the dysfunction of the federal government, states are absolutely places where change is happening or fights are occurring, people are working things out or they're not, but it's actually like the cauldron of things.
I agree with
and
you. I just don't think people are
interested.
interested.
People are interested. I can tell you, if people had knowledge, I believe there would be, and I agree with Dominic too, if there was attention to the things that are wrong as well as the things that are right, people would be more engaged. They have very little access to information about what happens in Albany.
So it's Dominic's fault.
It's always Dominic's fault. All right. Well, guys, thank you all very much here.
pleasure.
And that is just about all the time that we have for tonight. Have a great evening, and we'll see you on Monday, 6 p.m.